Terry's free.
Johnny Walker. Matching up against control. His shot. Real score, they score. They tie the game up 2-2.
Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse.
Wow.
5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls off. And Arizona State wins it. Edwards pulls off. And buries the puck.
Daniels takes the shot for Derby.
Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. Got my hat on backwards, all excited. It is a overall massive victory Monday here on Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratinudo at Diablo00 on Twitter is where you can find me and the show, obviously, Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. At M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat, 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. All the videos are there. Well, all the shows are there. You missed interviews. We've had some awesome interviews. Again, the Pitchfork Lunch Mojo just keeps working its way. It's 0.0001% into victories. It was a great weekend. Teeny bit tough for soccer as they were in the mountain schools, taking on the mountain schools, Utah and Colorado. A little bit tough for Coach Winkworth and his team. They for back-to-back games, they actually gave up multiple goals. So a little tough there, but they're still, again, building towards, a postseason run, and they just need to shake it off a little and get back on track. But volleyball, oh my goodness. We had Claire Jeter on. We had a volleyball hour on Thursday. It was great right before they played Cal, and they swept Cal. They swept Cal 3-0, and it's like, okay, swept Cal 3-0, and the big one coming on Sunday against number 3 Stanford, and there was a 3 in the Stanford match. The Lady Devils swept Stanford. Yes, let that sink in, Pitchfork Lunchers. That is absolutely phenomenal. The number 3 team in the country. And, I mean, look, the first and third set, it was all about, all 3 sets, but just the defense. Yes, they were running a very quick and efficient offense. But defensively, I mean, blocks, they took the first set from Stanford 25-16. They took the third set 25-14, the number 3 team in the country. It was crazy because Stanford had 12 service errors. And man, just a little bit shocking. Just a little bit shocking. And good friend, man that's covered the conference for years, but Olympic sports for years. Jeff Metcalf sitting next to him at the game, and he was saying, I wonder if playing in Mullet Arena, which is where this game was played, as an effect. And I think, Coach Van Neal addressed that after the game a little bit too, because Jeff had asked him that. But it could a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly the same. And I said, well, the only parallel I can draw to it is when basketball teams, when they play, in the Final Four, and it's in a stadium, not an arena, which they're used to playing in, because they're definitely used to playing in arenas, not an arena, in a stadium, right? And they literally, a lot of times, like coaches have said throughout the years, you see some of their best shooters as they're first warming up, the depth perception, not a layup, but when they step out, like, the team might chuck some air balls, which of course you're like, wait, you're in the Final Four, you're in the championship game. How are you chucking air balls? But again, it's a depth perception. It's getting used to shooting in a stadium. And it's it's a challenge, but and that's what I said to Jeff. I go, I could relate to that. I could see what he's saying. But when you look at it, I mean, Stanford with the service errors, but just the electricity, there, which again, I was very happy. A lot of people showed out and they were loud, and the team obviously gave them reason to be. And we'll get into more of it coming up. Again, just a phenomenal weekend for volleyball as they sweep the Bay Area schools. Yeah. Sweep the Bay Area schools, and they now improve to 21-3 on the season. 21-3 on the season. And all their losses came in conference. 1 to Stanford, 1 to Oregon State, and then last weekend to Colorado. And I'll get into more of that too as we go on, reviewing the weekend. Homecoming weekend, again, wrapped up pretty awesomely. It was, yeah. So it wrapped up homecoming weekend. But 21-3 overall for the Devils, 9-3 with wins over and 3 set wins over. Because, yeah, they only have Oregon once. Oh, no. They have Oregon coming up again at home. Just kidding. But 21-3 with sweeps over number 5 Oregon at the time and number 3 Stanford. Yeah, that's huge. And I've been thinking it, and I haven't said it, and I did read it, and it confirmed my thought. And shout out to Doug Tamaro for putting this up. But JJ Van Neal, homer or not, this is, Pitchfork Lunch. You can call it a homer show, but Sun Devil Nation, I'm fair. Homer or not, JJ Van Neal is definitely in first place. He is up top for National Coach of the Year. And Doug Tamaro put it out there and said, as of October 29th, JJ Van Neal is National Coach of the Year. Now, that being said, how does his team respond? And being around Coach, you've seen talking to, players on the show, he has them locked in, and how the team responds. But yeah, and you look at, again, the upcoming schedule as they next weekend, they will be in Southern California. The LA schools, they have UCLA and USC. UCLA on Friday. And then Sunday, they have the Trojans, in which they swept UCLA last time here in Tempe, if you all remember. If you don't, that's what I'm here for. I got you. And then that was the Sunday match, but on the Friday night, they went to 5 with USC, but they did get the win in 5. So huge matchups coming up there next weekend. That is what the volleyball team has. So we will go from there. But yeah, more on this a little bit later. Again, just a phenomenal weekend, and they're putting in the work. And people say you have to believe, and this is a team real quick. Last year, I said it quite a few times. I mean, 13-19 last year. So not terribly, under 500, yes, but not terribly bad. But you could see like right there on the cusp of, okay, well, it can go one of two ways. We can improve and be more, in the upper middle of the conference next year. Or if, they put their heads in the sand and, say quite a few more players would have transferred because of a coaching change, you're on the brink there, a little teeter-totter there. You're trying to balance, but no, a phenomenal job. And they have, they earned all the flowers getting thrown their way. But at the same time, like Jelly Sear said, they need to, coach is like, you can look at it, but if you, basically, revel in it, don't listen to the media if they're too nice to you, basically. No, it was all kidding aside, but a phenomenal weekend. And speaking of phenomenal weekend, homecoming, Saturday night, the Sun Devils beat the Cougars at home. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I mean, team getting a little bit healthier. Yes, this time of the year for everybody that's played every game, that no one's truly fully healthy. But I'm talking about guys coming back from injury, guys obviously being able to play, but contribute, and guys that, helps the depth and the rotation. So it's one of those things where they get the victory 38-27 over the Cougs. And they improved to 2-6 now, get their first conference win. And they did a hell of a job against Cam Ward. And look, I talked about it last week. We heard Coach defensive coordinator Brian Ward talk, Coach Dillingham saying the same thing. Like, yeah, it's tendencies. So you can pick somebody's brain about where they were, but how is somebody going to call this? And then of course they're watching film of their previous games. And to this point, when you get this late in the season, again, you don't have to, chuck around to see what, maybe what they did last year, in situations, but it's a buildup. So 38-27. And look, to Carlos Brooks, he came back after the bye against Washington. It was great. Obviously good to see him on the field, coming back from his injury. The line's still a little bit banged up, but some guys back, and they did a good job of protecting Trenton Bourget. And he's able to, get the ball down the field when he needed to, but guys making plays. Elijah Badger, the human Ralphie, Jalen Conyers. And then, like I said, the Carlos Brooks, but I'm not forgetting about Cam Scadaboo, who, of course, did get another punt in this game, as well as just being phenomenal running the ball. And this defense, man, the D-line, I mean, BJ Green, Clayton Smith, they actually met at the quarterback one time at Cam Ward, and literally at the same time, each got the half sack Clayton Smith had 1.5 sacks for the game. And man, this D-line did a heck of a job. Yes, Cam Moore made some plays. Obviously, that young man, I talked about it last week, is gonna make some plays. And it was, again, just when you look at this defensive effort, I mean, Shamari Simmons had one of the biggest pressures of the game, and he didn't sack Cam Ward, but he just caused Cam Ward to turn and just like chuck it over the head of his receiver. And it was I mean, an A-gap blitz. They were bringing everybody, and Coach Ward, and you know, I asked Coach Dillingham obviously about, you know, or Coach Dillingham was asked. I didn't ask him that one. Coach Dillingham was asked about you know, bringing these pressures, and he's like, his confidence. And, you know, Coach Ward wants to dial him up, and he goes, have the confidence, you know, you can do it. You know, 0 blitz right there on you know, certain parts of the field where, like Coach Dillingham said, you know, oh, well, you can't do that there. And it's Coach Ward says, hey, he knows these guys. He's been coaching them. And they have just showed, especially in the defensive line. I mean, like I said, I mean, Deshaun Mallory balling out, Tristan Monday, Michael Matus contributing, CJ Fight, the freshman. This young man, again, I mean, he was here for the spring. And, you know, like Coach Dillingham says, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You know, you're in high school. If you can graduate early and get to spring ball, you know, to start making that adjustment to college, then like it is big, but it's not that, you know, guys that came in right, you know, in the summer. Yeah. I mean, with, you know, probably a little, obviously the, you know, the verbiage, you know, offense and defense, both sides, and, you know, just what they're looking for. I mean, yeah, it's obviously growing, a learning period, a growth period. But man, CJ Fight, this young man, I mean, playing next to, you know, guys like Deshaun Mallory, guys with, you know, experience that are in his ear, you know, like a Michael Matus, and, you know, and even, you know, a Clayton Smith and a BJ Green, like but yeah, I mean, the talent, it was, I mean, Cam Moore dropped back 50 times. He was 35 of 50. So, I mean, 70% for the game, which is very awesome. 1 touchdown, no picks. Ward also rushed for 2 touchdowns. And Lincoln Victor, who had just a huge game up in Autzen Stadium, I mean, he had 9 catches for 51 yards. And he also had the 1 receiving touchdown. But yeah, I'll get to more of that later. But yeah, I mean, you look at this, and I said it in my post-game wrap. I mean, 22 combined carries for 188 yards and 4 touchdowns for Brooks, DeCarlos Brooks, and Cam Scattaboo. And like I said, DeCarlos Brooks had the hat trick. He had the 3 touchdowns. But you look at, like I said, defensively, they had 3 sacks, 8 tackles for losses. 8. And in a game, you know, with field position, I mean, is, you say, such a huge thing. And I mean, that first drive, I mean, Washington State, they looked pretty good, and they moved the ball down the field. I mean, they did have to punt 3 times. ASU only did punt the once. I mean, you look at it, it was 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. And then it was 24-21 Devils going into the locker room. And then it was 31-24 at the end of the third, and then the Devils held the Cougs to a field goal in the fourth quarter. And they did go for it on a few fourth downs. Devils got stops. There was one stop on the goal line. But yeah, 38-27, your final, they get the win. And I mean, just again, like I said, the record, obviously not the best. 2-6 now, and then 1-4 in conference play. Still some very obviously tough, challenging games coming up. Utah on the docket next Saturday in Salt Lake City. And yeah, that's going to be a tough place, and they're not going to be in a very good mood. They're going to be very pissy, I guess is one word to use, because they just got hammered by Oregon. So, and these are two defenses. I mean, the Utah defense, I mean, they lost what, 34-6 to the Ducks? Yeah, sorry, 35. Sorry, Ducks, didn't mean to not credit you for one more extra point. Nonetheless, I mean, yeah, it was and Utah got 2 field goals in the first half, and they did not score in the second half. So, yeah, Bo Nix, I mean, threw another 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving rushed for 83 yards, had a rushing touchdown. And Troy Franklin had almost 100 yards and a touchdown for the Ducks. But I digress, back to ASU. That was one phenomenal Saturday night and Sun Devil Stadium. And man, it's just, but they got, like I said, the energy, not just from the coaching staff, but the players grinding. And if they're not having a bad practice, and after last week's incident that we talked about, coming off the bus, the offensive bus just, being an absolute mess, and Coach Dillingham calling the offensive out, not saying there's not leaders on offense, but, they need to step up. I mean, the defensive bus, like you said, immaculate. And it's, yeah, guys didn't like that on Monday. And obviously, hearing about it Sunday, obviously, and then on Monday as well. But yeah, I mean, everything worked out, and Washington State had come in, and now they have lost 4 in a row. And I'm not laughing at them. I'm just saying, I mean, it's the Pac-12. I would not have expected this, but nonetheless, that is where it's at. So, and then soccer, like I said, 2 tough losses on the road. To Utah and to Colorado. And it was just absolutely tough, because Utah, I mean, 2-0 was the score, and they were flirting up top of the standings, and they fell 2-0 at Utah. And then Colorado, oh my goodness, man, 4 goals in the second half. And yes, an injury on this defense last week to Liske Carlier, but man, I mean, 4 goals against this defense. I was just in absolute shock. I'm just gonna say it, like, completely in absolute shock. But look, how do you bounce back? How do you show that everything you've done all year, the way you've played, I mean, controlled a lot of the pace and the tempo in the 90, and defensively with locking teams down? Like, how do you bounce back from that? Well, I'll tell you how you get right. You have a game against your rivals, and that is the next game. And it's a little 3-game losing streak. Man, this is crazy. I mean, look, they beat USC 1-0. They fell to UCLA, as you guys know. We touched on it in the 89th minute last Sunday to the number 2 Bruins. They lose 1-0, and then they fall to Utah 2-0, and then Colorado 4-0. So, look, sometimes, again, it's a season in this game. They call it a beautiful game, and sometimes it goes ugly for you. But if they're having been around this team and seeing it, like, definitely knowing that they can bounce back. And look, I mean, now you look at standings wise, I mean, they're 10-5 and they're 10-5-4. So, I mean, still at 16 points. Cal has 16 as well. UCLA, they tied. They had a 1-1 draw. Had a 1-1 draw against, well, who else? Stanford. But UCLA now has 28 points. And yeah, everybody's just got their one game left with their rivals. So even if UCLA falls to USC and Stanford beats Cal, UCLA still wins the regular season with 28 points. And if they get a draw, but a win, obviously they have 31. I know you guys can do the 3-point math, but just saying. So UCLA up top. ASU, though, they're right there at 16. Colorado now 1 point behind them at 15. Utah has 9. So, if Colorado beats Utah, they would be up to 18. So that means the Devils have to get the win. So, I mean, look, because even if USC loses to UCLA, ASU would still be 2 points behind them, but it would leapfrog them over Cal if Stanford beats Cal. So again, a lot to get to, but again, 16 points for the Devils and looking to, again, get that victory over that team down south. And that is this Friday. So everybody, again, last regular season games this Friday. And I'm sure they are definitely chomping at the bit to get back on the field. But look, I'm going to take a quick break. We get back. I'm going to dive into volleyball's, weekend, but just huge win yesterday over number 3 Stanford. They pulled out the brooms on Stanford. Madness, insanity. More coming up here on Pitchfork Lunch.
Audio
Yes, that was the last point of the match against the Cardinal. 3-0. 3. I mean, look, hats off to JJ Van Neal. You come off, and I talked about it in the opening, talked about it last week. You sweep Utah, but then you turn around and you lose to Colorado 3-0. And, Claire Jeter talked about it on Thursday saying, we pretty much had, about 24 hours to just kind of get Colorado, be down about Colorado, get it out of our system, get back to practice. And, but not talk about it, not, look forward, obviously clean up mistakes. And Coach Van Neal talked about that in his post-game presser yesterday. But, man, to sweep Cal, they went 5 against Cal last time after they lost to Stanford in 3. They beat Cal in 5. At DFA on Friday night, boom, 3-0 on Cal. And then that was the last point, 3-0. Against Stanford, pardon me. And, man, again, back here on Pitchfork Lunch, you see it right there. I am Michael Caratanudo at Diablo00 on Twitter. If you have any questions, thoughts, things you missed, again, the show's live on Twitter, Facebook, and my YouTube. But subscribe to the YouTube. All the shows are there. If you've missed any, you missed the interview, back when this was just getting rolling with volleyball with JJ Van Neal, or you missed the interview with Roberta Habello, Mary Schroll, Jelly Sear, Claire Jeter, even assistant coach Presley Anderson. Like, the shows are there. Subscribe to the YouTube at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. But that being said, I mean, you look at this. ASU 41 kills to 34. Aces, 6-3. And there was one point, and Coach Van Neal did it again. I mean, and no surprise that obviously Stanford could do it, because yes, it is Stanford, and the year they're having, again, up until this point, their only losses were to Florida, and it was Wisconsin, right? I'll get back to that, but still, and in conference play, they hadn't dropped more than one set, because they were undefeated, obviously, in conference play up till this point, but they hadn't dropped more than one set. None of theirs have gone 4 or 5, I should say. So once they dropped the second set to ASU, that was the first time that happened this year. So look, but the aces 6-3, and there was one point where they got back-to-back aces, just like UCLA did, and coach took a timeout there. But blocks, Stanford, it was 7-6. Assists 39-32 in favor of the Devils, and digs. Yeah, this defense, I mean, was all over the place, but a slight advantage there, 50-47 for the Sun Devils. And when you look at kills, yes, Marta Levinska, 17. Roberta Habello had 9. Claire Jeter had 5. And then aces, Claire Jeter had 3. Jelly Sear had 2. And then Shannon Shields had 1. Again, it's not, you're not going to ace, 6, you figure 2 each set. That's pretty good. You're not going to ace, obviously, a team of Stanford's depth and talent often. But Yeah, I mean, Claire Jeter, again, a little bit of the pitchfork lunch mojo, had half of them. Blocks, Maddie McLaughlin had 3. Claire Jeter also had 3. Marta Levinska had 2. Assists, Shannon Shields, of course, with 28. Mary Schroll had 6, and Marta Levinska had 4. Digs, Mary Schroll with 12, Marta Levinska with 12, and Shannon Shields with 8. And Jelly Sear did have one yesterday afternoon too that had so much pepper on it. I'm like, she's right there. And the fact that it was one of the longest points of the match, which was awesome. But yeah, it was one of the longest points. But it was the fact that, I mean, she was in position, and again, the form like at this level, you're saying, you expect it if they're there. But yeah, this kill attempt had a ghost pepper on it. Not even, I can't even say sriracha wouldn't have been hot enough. It had ghost pepper, and she was right there, and it led to ASU winning a longer point. But yeah, even at the net, I mean, Maddie McLaughlin, Claire Jeter, Levinska, Shannon Shields, I mean, Roberta Habello too. I mean, just challenging this Stanford attack, and it was a phenomenal match. If you did not get the chance to go to the match, again, I did my best to keep you updated. But just the atmosphere there. So, but you don't worry, you can still catch this 21-3 Sun Devils team, who's 9-3 in conference play, which means they were undefeated, obviously, as we know, in non-conference play. They are again in Southern California next Friday at 7 p.m. They are at UCLA. And then Sunday at 3 o'clock, they will take on the Trojans of Southern California. So, that being said, UCLA up first. They did sweep UCLA when they were here a few weeks ago, the beginning of October on that Sunday afternoon. Yep, 3-0. And then, like I said earlier, they went 5, pardon me, with USC. So we'll see what they can do. Nothing. The Trojans would love nothing better than to obviously, clip the Devils, thinking that they, are maybe looking past after the win against Stanford, that there might be a letdown if Coach Van Neal. And again, I've gotten to know him more this year, but I'm saying the way his teams react and, practice, all that good stuff. It's this team again. They are trucking along, and Coach said, I wouldn't put it on paper. But yesterday in his presser, he's like, when we play like up to our capability, what they've been coached to do, and understanding what another team's doing, he's like, we can play with anybody in the country. It's not saying that they'll, that he's stating a fact. Let's just leave it at that. He's stating a fact. But yeah, you look at the standings now. Stanford 11-1 in conference play. The Devils and the Ducks at 9-3. The Cougs and the Trojans at 8-4. And then you have the Bruins, the Buffaloes, the Bruins and the Buffaloes at 4-7. And then you have the Golden Bears, the Huskies, and the Beavers and the Utes all at 4-8. And Arizona, that team down south, tough year for them, 1-11. But yeah, the Devils, I mean, yes, 9-3. 21-3 overall. They've played 3 more games than Stanford has. So Stanford's 18-3. They're 21-3. But yeah, and both Stanford and Cal swept that team down south. But look, this is about the Devils. JJ Van Neal, again, a phenomenal job. That's where they are standings wise. And I mean, and when we look at updated stats on the year, I mean, like I said, Marta Levinska was, it's a team now with let's see. Did they? Yes, they did update it. So yes, Marta Levinska now 362 kills. Jelly 228 kills. Roberta Habello 176. Claire Jeter, 132. So, yeah, 1,068 kills for this team. But when we go to the aces now, so now Shannon Shields has leapfrogged Mary Schroll and tied Marta Levinska. Both Shields and Levinska have 33 aces on the season. Mary Schroll, yes, right there with 31. And then look at this, Jelly Sear and Claire Jeter. Now, because obviously Claire with half the 3 yesterday, they are 168 aces. I mean, they've won 6 sets on aces alone, which is 2 matches. 2 matches worth of ace points. I mean, that is just phenomenally huge. You hear me talk about it all the time. That is just phenomenally huge. I mean, when we'll look at blocks, I mean, Claire Jeter with 91. Maddie McLaughlin has 81. And actually, Maddie got the final kill, as you saw there. I'll run that play again because it's just I could loop it all day. I know nobody at Stanford would be happy, but we do not care because that was just a gritty win. It's tied at 4 in the second set. By the way, there's a point in the second set. I mean, they're tied at 4, and then ASU, the Sun Devils, went on like a 7-point run, and all of a sudden it's 11-4, and you give yourself a little bit of room. And I mean, the final, again, it was 25-21 in that second set. And yeah, Stanford did fight off. I mean, the ASU had 6 set points. They fought off 3. They just couldn't fight off, 3 more to try and force a little bonus volleyball in the second and maybe, turn momentum back to their bench for the Cardinal. But man, that point in the second set and then in the third set, just they weren't going to be denied. And it's not for effort. There were some long points. It wasn't just like, sir, or obviously, like I said, there are 6 aces throughout the match, but still, it wasn't like just, a quick ace or, Stanford serving. So it's just, boom, kill down. No, I mean, there were some long points, and ASU, well, as you can see from the scores, to overstate the obvious, came out on top of a good amount of those. But yeah, I mean, just getting those longer points and, and Stanford, did have a few, did win a few of them in some, key times, and it was, but yeah, I mean, just the length and everything. And, I mean, it's, and Jillian Neal, I mean, coming in to serve again, just doing such a good job. And I mean, coach noticed it in practice and the way, Neal, I mean, an outside hitter, but just what she's doing service wise. And a freshman from San Diego, and the work she's put in, again, just to come in at those points and serve. I mean, absolutely huge to get that contribution as well from this very, again, deep and talented team. But yeah, I mean, God, just just the energy and everything. I mean, and ask Claire Jeter, but I mean, she's like Shannon Shields. I mean, just the setter, obviously the catalyst to the offense. And I go, is it fair for me to call it my non-technical volleyball term of, organized chaos? Because when you have a setter, again, that has those options that can keep the defense off balance, that can keep the block of the other team just, pausing for just a split second and, sliding over and, trying to get the one-on-one matchups, especially when she sets Jeter or McLaughlin in the middle. Like, it is just such a beautiful, fast offense. And Coach Van Neal's talking about it. They want to run a fast offense, but it's beautiful to watch. And yes, when you have a setter like that, absolutely huge. Just again, absolutely huge for the Devils. So I mean, yeah, big win. And you know what? Let's watch that final point again. Let's just let's watch that closeout point, because look, it never gets old. It was phenomenal. It was electric at Mold Arena. Again, if you missed it, you still got a chance to get out there and see the Devils. But I mean, guys, come on. This is a team that in the right direction. They love the fan interaction. It was getting loud in there. And yeah, I mean, you know, it'd be but yeah, let's just see this again. Hold on, I'm gonna rewind it. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna rewind it. I'm talking about Shannon Shields and what she's done all match, and she set Maddie McLaughlin right there. Look at the great opportunity for McLaughlin, yes, because of how ASU Neil, I mean, an outside hitter, but just what she's doing service wise. And I mean, a freshman from San Diego, and the work she's put in, again, just to come in at those points and serve. I mean, absolutely huge to get that contribution as well from this very, again, deep and talented team. But yeah, I mean, God, just what, again, just the energy and everything. I mean, and ask Claire Jeter, but I mean, she's like Shannon Shields. I mean, just the setter, obviously the catalyst to the offense. And I go, is it fair for me to call it my non-technical volleyball term of, organized chaos? Because when you have a setter, again, that has those options that can keep the defense off balance, that can keep the block of the other team just, pausing for just a split second and, sliding over and, trying to get the one-on-one matchups, especially when she sets Jeter or McLaughlin in the middle. Like, it is just such a beautiful, fast offense. And Coach Coach Van Neal's talking about it. They want to run a fast offense, but it's beautiful to watch. And yes, when you have a setter like that, absolutely huge. Just again, absolutely huge for the Devils. So I mean, yeah, big win. And you know what? Let's watch that final point again. Let's just let's watch that closeout point, because look, it never gets old. It was phenomenal. It was electric at Mullet Arena. Again, if you missed it, you still got a chance to get out there and see the Devils. But I mean, guys, come on. This is a team that in the right direction. They love the fan interaction. It was getting loud in there. And yeah, I mean, you know, it'd be but yeah, let's just see this again. Hold on. I'm going to rewind it. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to rewind it. I'm talking about Shannon Shields and what she's done all match. And she set Maddie McLaughlin right there. Look at the great opportunity for McLaughlin. Yes, because of how ASU was able to play. But look at the block. Again, not knowing where Shannon Shields is going, keeping them off balance. Just look at that. Appreciate that again, because it was a quick set in the middle and it was a one-on-one. Yep, let's go old school. One more time. Let's see this. Love it. Bam. Right there. So yeah. But from one match, let's transition to football. Let's transition to football, because Kenny Dillingham again, each week talking about what he needs to do to get better. And yes, you know, he's been calling plays. We saw that. He started doing that, but you know, things he can adjust to. And against Washington State, like, it literally all came to fruition. Yes, it is the second win of the year, but this team against Washington State just balled out. And to get that win, again, absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. And it's paying off. Like, I talked about the team, obviously, still being out at practice, seeing it, them battling. Like, it's one of those things where when you look at it, wow, you're just like, okay, they could easily just settle for going through the motions. And, you know, you have leaders on the team. And he said, you know, I mean, defensively, yes, the bus incident being a mess, offense, you know, guys need to step up, but there are leaders on offense. There are very, you know, guys that have been around the program, obviously, a while. And yeah, I just think that kind of bus incident is, you know, what put him over the top. And but yeah, I mean, Trenton Bourget, 19 of 26, very efficient, 274 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. Cam Scattaboo said 11 carries, 121 yards, one touchdown, at a night, busted off a long run when they were in their, not crazy deep in their territory, but deep enough. And he busts off a 66-yard run. Just absolutely huge. So, but yeah, 11 carries, 120 yards, one touchdown. DeCarlos Brooks, Mr. Hat-trick, 11 carries for 67 yards, 3 touchdowns. Elijah Badger, yes, the receiver. Elijah Badger, 4 carries, 18 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Beautiful cutback by him too. And then you look at receiving wise, Jalen Conyers, 4 receptions for 90 yards. He had a long of 50 where he just absolutely went human Ralphie for us and just trucked the DB saying, "Get off me." And he was just pumped up down the sideline wide open. And yeah, he had 4 for 90 though. And then Elijah Badger, 4 catches for 60 yards. Troy O'Meary, 4 for 42. Scatteraboo had 1 catch for 3 yards, with some of those guys getting more involved and back, he's not, and health-wise makes a difference. But yeah, and DeCarlos Brooks had 2 catches for 12 yards. Bryce Pierre had he had 1 catch on the game for 19 yards. But man, what a beautiful grab. What a beautiful grab by Bryce Pierre. So yeah, and defensively, look, I talked about it. There was no, interceptions from Cam Ward, but man, defensively, 3 sacks, huge, 1.5. BJ Green and Clayton Smith, they both had 1.5. So yeah, they each had a single one. And then, like I said, they met at the quarterback. And yeah, they each met at Cam Ward at the same time, and 3 sacks, 8 tackles for losses. Just huge. Dario Longhetto, by the way, 1 for 2 in field goals, hit a 51-yarder as right before halftime for them to go up 24-21. Longhetto. Jalen Conyers, I know some Washington State peeps were like, "Oh, he faked an injury," but it was a catch. It wasn't a fumble. It was a catch. It was a first down, so the clock was going to stop anyway. And but then they reviewed it to make sure. But since he went down, the clock didn't run, but the clock was going to start right, on the ref signal. So literally the field goal team was out there. They were lined up. When the whistle blew, they snapped the ball. And Longhetto, man, under that pressure, hit the 51-yard, beautiful field goal by that young man. Again, a little bit of struggles. I know obviously had the one blocked in Washington, and then the one hit the post. A little gust from the football gods there in Washington in the wind. But Dario Longhetto, that was absolutely huge to hit that 51-yarder before going into the locker room. And it's again, just a solid game. And defensive line, I talked about it. What again, CJ Fight, what he was his development, but yes, BJ Green, and yes, Clayton Smith, having Trey Brown at linebacker, back at again, healthier and back in the game, just kind of directing things. And, look, wanting to beat Washington State. Yes, he transferred out of Washington State and is down here and playing with Coach Ward. So, but yeah. And then, Shamari Simmons, this young man has 6 tackles. Just Coach called him a warrior. When you see him play, if you look at him, yes, doing his 111, being, knowing his responsibility, but that blitz that he had, he came straight up the A gap and forced it. And it's just awesome. Again, forced a very, very bad play by Cam Ward, perfect time to dial it up, and flew up the A gap. Just the energy, the passion. I almost want to say the anger, but I don't think he's an angry person. But when he on the field, when he plays, love him in the secondary. And Ro Torrance had a good game. Demetrius Ford, man, they went after him. They went after D Ford a little bit, but again, he made some very, very good plays. Prince Dorba, again, just asked Coach about him last week. Just the confidence from the time, from fall camp until now, just the confidence growing in his defense. Obviously, trusting his skill set. But man, this defense, told you they go toe to toe with anybody, and you beat Washington State 38-27, their biggest, their point total of the season. Yeah, that's absolutely huge. So, it's very, very exciting to say the least. But again, DeCarlos Brooks, man, so happy for this young man. I mean, this two-headed monster. I talked about it at game night. Coach Dillingham and calling plays, the running game complementing the passing game, opening it up, but the passing game, complementing the running game and, opening that up more. DeCarlos Brooks had a sick cutback on his first touchdown, but he gets the hat trick. I mean, just so great to see this young man, again, local kid, was at Cal, transferred back to Arizona State. But, I mean, to be healthy and to have that two-headed monster and what, Coach Dillingham was envisioning having all season. And it just, I said it after the game. To me, like I said right there, the running game complementing the passing game, which was working very well. And, not just stuff underneath, but the shots downfield, the few shots downfield that Bourget was able to hit. The big one, obviously, with Conyers. But, and then, Elijah Badger had a 26-yard, big 26-yard play too. So, but, each side complementing the other, and the flow that Kenny Dillingham was able to call the game with, absolutely huge. And you could just see, this is what he envisioned all year. And, it's look, Sun Devil fans should be excited, about being 2-6. No, but again, yes, no, and yes. It's a typical, as my guys, Eric Wilson and Ray Lynn would say, a typical Michael Caratanudo answer. But excited because look at this. They're grinding, and you see the performance. Guys coming in. Look, absolutely huge. Absolutely huge win. And yeah, let's be excited to get a homecoming win. And Kenny Dillingham 1-0 on homecoming. So yes, let's build from that, Pitchfork Lunchers. Absolutely awesome. Again, just absolutely awesome. So, hey, I'm going to get out of here. That's going to do it. Hey, same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow, as you guys all know. But yeah, we'll dive into more volleyball. We'll have somebody on from volleyball this week. You're just going to have to stay tuned. And yes, we're going to have somebody from soccer. I'm not just, again, we are, Homer show, but we stick by our team. Yes, it's a tough 2-game road trip. And then the last homestand, a phenomenal homestand. Phenomenal. Yes, losing to UCLA, I wouldn't classify as phenomenal, but in the 89th minute, all it took UCLA to do to finally crack the defense and get a goal off a set piece. Hey, man. Hey, all I'm going to say is, but yeah, and soccer, we will have somebody on as well. So that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. My fans. And yeah, hell of a weekend, and enjoy it. And the Diamondbacks in the World Series too. Merrill Kelly, a Sun Devil. So they are tied up at 1 in the World Series. And Coach Dillingham, that was the first thing Coach Dillingham, if you didn't see his presser that I had on, that's the first thing Coach Dillingham said when he sat down. How about those Diamondbacks? But he genuinely means it. He wasn't, obviously stoked they're in the World Series. Like I said, local Valley guy, Sun Devil, but stoked they're in the World Series, and they should have been up 2-0. But coulda, shoulda, woulda doesn't count. Hats off to the Rangers. Tip the cap to them. They came back in game 1, but the D-backs just dominate in game 2. They come home tonight for game 3. Well, they come home the next 3, 4, and 5. They could literally wrap this up here. Again, going to be tough to do against Texas, but hey, they're on the right track. So, but same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. Again, like I said, have somebody, again, aiming to have somebody from soccer. We'll have volleyball this week, and see what we get from football as well. We might, again, going to try and set it up to catch up with Coach Ward, but again, busy. Hey, I love it. We love it. Get the win. The defense has been phenomenal, and I will use phenomenal. I'm not throwing it around lightly, because if you watch them, yeah, They have a nasty mean streak when they're between those lines, and I absolutely love that. So anyway, same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. Pitchfork Lunchers, and again, YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005. Subscribe. See all the show. You can go back and watch all the phenomenal shows up to this point there. So that's where we're at. But I'm going to get out of here. And of course, I will leave you with something very awesome. But hey, have a great rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow. And yes, Devils fans, as always, forks up.
Daniels, they switch shot for